Well, here's an example of a company that's doing really innovative stuff. Garvey Schubert Barrow in Seattle. Now, they actually approached sustainability from a different perspective. They looked at it from a risk reduction standpoint. Now, law firms, just like accounting firms and insurance companies, they have a lot of paper. And a lot of it's stashed in their buildings, in file cabinets and rooms that aren't used anymore. So they were looking for a way that to give some backup redundancy in case they had a fire or a terrorist attack or a natural disaster. How could they have backup for all this paper? So they went out and their office manager found a way to bring in 6 high-speed scanners, brought some temps to help and some paralegals to help scan every single document. They offloaded it to the cloud. And what happened? It opened up a ton of space within their company. They gave them the risk reduction that they were looking for. But the benefit of it was that they were actually able to open up a lot of space because employees weren't spending time going down to different files, and you didn't have costs with filing and shredding. And so what was happening was that the organization then had all this leftover space, and they were actually able to rent that out. And in a downtown office complex, this can provide real value. So they had 3 rooms on each of their floors that they were able to sublease out. And the net savings then was over $1 million in the first year. This was a way that they were looking at from a risk reduction standpoint, a law firm, and they dramatically cut down on paper use. They opened up new opportunities for revenue and improved their sustainability performance at the same time. Another example is a property management company called CB Richard Ellis. Now, one of the things that they were doing was they were installing optimization programming for their HVAC systems for a couple of their Seattle office buildings. And what they realized was that actually by just doing that and then also asking some of their tenants, hey, do you come in on Saturdays? Do you need the power? Do you need the HVAC being run all the time? And a lot of the respondents said, no, we don't. Well, by optimizing and asking those questions, just in 1 year, they saved $51,000 on electricity. They were actually able to, see themselves being kind of labeled as a green property owner in this city. And they saved over 4 million kilowatt hours in that 1 year alone. This is an example of smart business. This is a business case for sustainability. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're saying, okay, I'm not in a big organization, what can I do? I just have an idea. What could I do with this? I want to give you an example of alchemy goods. This is a friend of mine, Eli Reich, who, he had the idea of, seeing all these bike tubes that were just being thrown away and all these bike shops that didn't know what to do with it. So he went out and he acquired a number of these bike tubes, took them, found a way to put them in productive use as wallets and bags. And you probably saw Russell Wilson coming off the airplane before Super Bowl 49, carrying an alchemy goods bag. And he was able to take what was waste and turn it back into a product. And he's actually able to make money off it. This is the kind of ingenuity that we need to have. This is a way you can make the business case for sustainability. You hear the term carbon and carbon emissions and CO2 being thrown out. Here's a company, Damascus Fortune, that actually is taking a proactive way of capturing carbon from industrial and automobile exhaust, turning it into carbon nanotubes. So they're taking what is a waste, an externality that's not showing up on a traditional balance sheet. They're taking that externality in terms of carbon, and they're through their purification process, they're turning these nanotubes into things that can be used. Laptops, mobile phones, cars, buildings. It's even going up into some of the spaceships that are being launched into space, and even into some new of the high-end bicycles that are being used in the Tour de France. This is a way a company's innovating, and they're taking what is bad, something we want to reduce in the environment. They're using sustainability, but they're turning it into productive use that can provide brand value to its customers, and it can provide financial benefit to its shareholders. And lastly, and you're not going to believe this one, here's a company called Farm Power. Now, this is a friend of mine, Kevin Moss, who created this, where he was looking for a way, to help out dairy farmers in rural Washington. And, they're having to meet all these new regulations and water quality regulations of trying to keep the runoff going into the streams, from basically the cow pie or the poop that was on these farms. And at the same time, you realize there's a lot of methane involved in this. And if we could actually capture that methane, we could turn it into energy. And if we did that, we were basically taking methane that would be going up into our atmosphere and having a huge global warming impact and putting a productive use for energy. And so what he did was actually turn poop into cash. He's found a way to turn it into money. It benefits the local farmers because he's actually going and basically picking up the poop and their site because it's not going into their water systems anymore. And then he's generating the energy, and not only was he able to do this, but he's actually selling it as renewable energy credits back to the local utility. So he's getting paid to do this multiple times. This is the idea behind sustainability and making the business case. You can be creative. It can be fun. It could actually be really dirty and disgusting, but you can find a way where you can actually make huge environmental impacts. You can take methane that was going to be going up and burning up the planet, and you can actually turn that, to put it into productive electricity that's offsetting, coal or other types of things, and then send it back and sell it. Not only as energy that's clean, but also as carbon offsets, and get money paid for you multiple times. You make real money when you start making that business case for sustainability, thinking, what is the social, environmental, and financial actions that I can take place with this?